Welcome back to the channel, everybody. If you're new, thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to be finishing stressed log. As you can see, I've got it sitting on the mill with the horns up. That means that the compression wood is up and the tension wood is down. We're going to get started sawing this thing up. So this first cut, we're just making a pretty shallow slab cut off of here on the compression side. So if the tension is too great, all it'll do is really straighten the log out for us a bit. Once I get this slab off, you can really tell how hourglass shaped it is, so how much sweep is in this log, and I've got the horns up. Next, we're going to rotate the log 180 to get it completely upside down and get ready for the next cut. I usually don't turn 180 unless I find that I just have to. I prefer to turn 90 degrees and make a cut. The log turner is a little bit slow. If I had a chain turner that was really fast, I may choose to do it different. Now we're going to get this second slab taken off of here. This one is on the tension side of the log. This log doesn't have a huge amount of tension in it, so you don't really see it jump up off of the cant like you do some. This one's a bit thicker in the middle and narrow and thin on both ends. After we get this slab off of here, we're going to roll the log our third time. And of course, this one we're going to need to get it squared up. Once we get this rolled up, we're going to have the compression wood facing the camera and the tension wood away, and we're going to be sawing on the side. When I use a framing square to square the log, I prefer to square off of the blade to the face of the log. So now that we've got it turned and squared, we're going to get this third slab off of here. You notice I've got the end toe board up just a little bit, not very much, half an inch or so. Now we're going to turn it 180 degrees to get our final slab off. This is what I really hate about turning them 180 degrees the first time, is you end up having to turn it 180 degrees again. So we got it rolled 90, and we're going to roll it another 90, and then we'll get it clamped up and get this next slab knocked off. I'm not shooting for a specific height out of this log. I'm just trying to get all I can get out of it, just in case I have to trim it up if something starts bowing on me. Alright, we're getting this last slab off, and so far the cant looks pretty stable. So we're going to leave it on the side that we're on right here and get our first 1.5 inches. In case you've not been keeping up, the tension wood is on the side facing the loader, facing the camera, and the compression wood is toward the operator. After we get this board knocked out of the way, I'm going to loosen the clamp so that the cant sits free on the sawmill bed, so we can see if it's trying to bow or crook or move in any way. And it actually looks pretty good, so I'm just going to clamp it back down right where it's at, and we're going to start cutting another 1.5 inch piece off of here. As I cut, regardless of whether I think it has tension in it or not, I like to keep my hand on the cant at the joint trailing behind me, so I can feel if it is moving around back there. The cant has started bowing just ever so slightly, so we're going to go ahead and flip it over, get away from the pith, and start cutting from the other side. Now we've got the compression wood toward us and the tension wood away from us, and the side that we're cutting off of is really neutral. That's what it's all about, is we're trying to get this log broken down without the cant crooking on us, causing us to have boards that aren't true dimensions. To me, there's not much worse than cutting a board and realize once I've got it cut that it's half as thick in the middle as it was at both ends. Or you realize it and spend a quarter of your log just truing everything back up. So these nearly 2x10s that I'm cutting off of this and throwing over on the loader arms are relatively straight as far as crook and bow goes. But you can't let that fool you. If you leave these boards as is and dry them out, they will crook because of the tension and compression wood. That tension wood will shrink considerably more than the compression wood. So now we've got all the 2x we can get off of this cant, and we're actually left with a 1x. I was kind of saving it in there just in case we had to true the thing back up if it did start bowing. We'll get him through off of the sawmill and get all of these fletches, if you want to call them that, back up on the mill and get them cut into 2x4s. If you'll look at the far left bottom fletch cut that's still laying there that I'm not messing with yet, if you notice the pith is out of center to the right, and how tight the rings are to the right and how spread out they were on the left. That left side is the tension wood, and when I finally get to mill it into 2x4s, you're going to see it crook pretty good. So what I'm doing now is I've got these 2x's that are too small to make 3 2x4s and too big to make 2. So what I'm doing is trimming a little bit off of the compression wood side, and then I'm going to trim a fair bit more off of the tension wood side, and of course split it nearly down the middle, which isn't the best. I mean, you can see if I'm not in the pith with this outside one, I'm right at it, but it doesn't crook, it bows. If you'll see right there at the end of the board, it bowed over quite a bit, but it didn't crook. So now I'm flipping these over because some of them do have some wane on them, and any opportunity to cut some of the tension wood off is just a benefit. These pieces are something close to 5 inches tall. If you'll look, you can see they're sitting pretty flat on the sawmill as far as crook goes, but we're going to get them clamped up and get some 2x4s cut out of them. You can't see really well, but as the saw head passes, you can see that these still aren't trying to crook on us. We're going to get these off of here real fast and get the other 2 fletch cuts up on the deck and get them sawed up. So these next 2 fletch cuts, the wane on them is a little narrow for cutting 2 2x4s out of and not having any wane on them at all, but they're going to make perfectly fine 2x4s, especially if they're trimmed to 8-footers. So my clamp is as far inward as it will go with these 2 fletch cuts, and it's tight enough on the boards with the backstops up pretty high, but now that I'm going to have to lower the backstops in order to cut the 2x4 off the top, I need to put a block in here so that I can actually get them good and tight. If you notice, the one closest to the camera, the top board that we're cutting off, crooks on this end when we get it cut loose. I think that's primarily due to that knot right there and not necessarily the tension that we were looking at in the log. It's not at the operator end at all. It only starts right there at that big knot. I don't know about other species of pine, but these are southern yellow pine, and they're actually loblolly, and they are really bad to warp around large knots. I'm going to get these two offloaded. We'll get these other half of these flitches flipped over and get them trimmed up, and we'll about be wrapped up. Now here again, these two I don't think will make good 10-footers, but they'll make really good 8-footers. Hey, I wanted to take just a minute and thank everybody that's been supporting the channel. Well, I just hit 1,000 subscribers, so I really appreciate that. Okay, we got 10 2x4s that are all the same dimensions from one end to the other. They don't vary more than a 1/16 of an inch from one end to the other. Several of them have some bow to them. Only one of them right here at my knee has much crook in it, and it'll probably end up in the scrap pile. It's not going to make a good board. The majority of the bow that we're seeing in these, if we air stack them and dry them correctly, most of that will straighten out of them. Now, of course, I know this isn't the only way to cut this log, but this is the way I prefer to tackle them if I know they're going to have stress in them due to off-center pith and tension and compression wood. I appreciate everybody that stayed to the end. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff.